Welcome to episode 184 of Auto Off Topic. Welcome, Brad. How are you?
I am here. I am good. I am living. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're getting along, and let's talk some cars because can't do any car stuff.
Oh, we can
But we're
do
just gonna.
solo car stuff.
Oh, that's
We just
true.
we just can't do car events.
See, a big thing though of working on cars is often you work on it with your friends, and but a lot of times I would work on my stuff by myself just because I enjoyed it. So there is that too.
Yeah, it's a good way to kind of keep yourself occupied during these times of change when you can't do a lot of things you normally would do.
You could certainly go on a solo drive. That is perfectly acceptable.
Yep,
You have to keep cars exercised.
as long as when you stop for fuel, you wear gloves and clean yourself up afterwards.
You kind of should have anyways, but
Well, now it's like extra important.
yeah,
So I actually put a bunch of gloves in the cars so that when I go to the gas pump, I have them. So
yeah, I've done the same. Um, well, regardless of that, we do have some other sad news. If you're a country music fan, Kenny Rogers passed away.
yeah, and we bring that up because he was also involved with cars too. Not that it's not sad when somebody passes away, and even if you're not a huge country music fan, I mean, Kenny Rogers was well known to everybody. But he was also involved in dirt track racing all through the 70s and 80s.
I didn't know any of this stuff, which is pretty interesting. He's got some campy 70s race car movie too. I kind of
Yeah,
want to watch now.
six pack, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It reminds me kind of like a Stroker Race, kind of like not very serious race car movie.
Yeah. It's
But
kind of a
I
good
haven't
time
seen
to
it. I
watch
haven't
a
seen
movie
it
like
either.
that.
But yeah, exactly. If it's available anywhere, it's a good time to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's one of those movies that's well known enough to be available streaming anywhere.
It's probably on YouTube in pieces or something,
Yeah, it
or
is.
for like $1.
It is on Prime. I don't know if you got to pay for it or not, but it's definitely on Amazon Video. So, no, but he was involved with a chassis company. So his music promoter was a big sprint car guy. His name was something Spurlock, CK Spurlock, I think his name was. And he had this chassis company, and everybody already knew Kenny Rogers. And he kind of worked out a deal with Kenny Rogers where he turned his chassis company into the name of the album that Kenny Rogers was releasing,
Huh.
which was called The Gambler. So it became Gambler Sprint Car Chassis.
Oh.
So it was more of like a cross promotion thing so Kenny Rogers himself wasn't like super involved in the development or building of these cars. He was more like, I guess you call him a hype man at that point about these race cars.
Any like financial stuff? Did
He
he
had a
like
little bit of financial interest in it because the name of his album was on it.
right?
And the Gambler chassis was like super successful and won the championship a couple of years. So it did very well for everybody, and everybody on both sides, everybody made out. Like it was free advertising for both teams at that point. So they sold a bunch of chassis because of his interest in it, and they had his name at every track, which, dirt tracking is probably certainly synonymous with country music. So it just kind of fit. So
He
it's,
knows his base.
yeah, for sure. So it's really neat. They basically, their big thing was Steve Kinser was the big sprint car racer at the time, and the Gambler chassis was one of the ones that they thought could beat Kinser in his cars, and it did a couple of times. So it's kind of a neat story. He's not like it's not a super deep like Kenny Rogers Racing Team, but it was Kenny Rogers Racing Team was the name of the team. So it's really neat.
That's cool.
But yeah, rest in peace, Kenny Rogers. He made some good early country music, and he's from the era of country music that we can tolerate here at Auto Hot Topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really into Orville Peck now, the new stuff.
I don't know what that is, but
I've played it for you.
probably I'll take you word
He's
for it.
like a cross between like Roy Orbison and like Johnny Cash,
Hmm.
and then with like The Cure or something like Dark Wave. It's kind of weird, but it's cool.
Yeah, I'll look it up later. That's for sure.
Um, but speaking of strange movies or obscure kind of cult movies, I still haven't watched Thunderbolt. I keep meaning to watch it. I know it's on Amazon.
Yep, it's
It's
like $10.
definitely in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, we should definitely both watch that this week so we can talk about it next week.
Yeah,
So that's
should
a
do that.
Jackie Chan movie that has the entire cast of cars is from Mitsubishi Motors, and it's
All right,
like
that'll be
golden era Mitsubishi. It's all Evo 3s and Eclipses and Monteros and all the good stuff.
my my homework for the week. And
Yes.
then, speaking of early Evos, we kind of got back into Forza because us and a bunch of friends wanted to do some car stuff. So I was looking this afternoon before he came on. They don't have early Evos in that game. I really
No,
wanted to do an early Evo.
no, Evo 7, I think, is the oldest car in the game. Maybe even an 8.
Six. Six.
Oh, there is a 6? Okay.
Yep. But I wanted like a one, two, or three because I wanted to do like a Pleasure Evo inspired type car.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised they're not in the game. It must be some licensing thing. Some other game
Yeah.
probably owns the licensing for them.
Yeah, it's weird.
But no, I
But
started playing it again myself last night, so that's I'm excited to get back into it.
I'm really bad at drifting again. I was better and now I'm bad again.
Well, we'll just have to play enough so you can get better at it again. So
Um, so my gamer tag
trail
is
breaking. Trail breaking is the key.
that's true. My gamer tag is Raced in Anger. So if people are on there and maybe we'll get some other people, we can play Forza or something. Do
Yeah,
something.
we have 4 or 5 people who are already doing like a not series race series with not serious
Yeah.
race series with, and we
Yeah.
can certainly have a few more. My gamer tag is Brad Bomber 518, which goes back to early online video game days.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, no, that'll be fun to get back into that. I was back into it playing last night. I know that the group we're in, we're doing kind of a joke class. We built C class, um,
GMC vans.
yeah, GMC G vans. So I spent way too long looking for liveries and tuning that thing to cut like a 102 at Lime Rock. So that should be fun.
Yeah. Um, so with all the motorsports unfortunately canceling for reasons, the esports, which has been a thing for a while, especially racing sims, really came to the forefront this weekend with NASCAR announcing that they would partner with iRacing out of Chelmsford, Massachusetts.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We know a couple of people that work there from the SCCA the local SCCA group.
Oh, I was totally unaware.
Yeah. Actually, I think one of the people, I'll just say his first name, Neil. I know Neil listens every now and then. So, yeah, I know he works for iRacing last time I talked to him. Yeah, so they did like this e-racing NASCAR series where they got a bunch of NASCAR drivers that had sim setups to race in it was like it was at Homestead, quote unquote, Homestead. I'm doing air quotes. uh, and they all stayed at home and raced over the internet, and they broadcast it with live commentary from the actual NASCAR commentators. And it was like, if you're like, I turned on the TV because I was also working on my kitchen that I'm remodeling. And if I'm like 10 feet away looking at it on the TV, you're like, oh, it's a NASCAR race. And then you get close, you're like, oh, that's a video game. But it like wasn't that weird. Like, I don't know. What do you think?
I have an opposite thought. I thought it was really weird.
Really?
Well, it's
I thought it
obviously
was cool.
it's obviously a video game. I mean, you're not going to
Right.
trick the average viewer into thinking it's not a
No.
video game. But I thought it was strange because the commentators were just acting like it wasn't a video game when they were calling it. I mean, they obviously they mentioned it from time to time when like video gamey things happened, like the drivers could hit the reset button.
I don't know, but it was kind of like the fact that they weren't taking it super serious it was kind of fun that way. Everybody was having fun, and that's what made it really like yeah, this is really cool to just see, especially when they would cut to the drivers in their houses and the vastly different racing setups, the sim setups.
I thought that was strange. Some of the guys had like these giant racing rigs, and some of them had like a Logitech wheel clamp to their desk. Like it didn't
Yeah,
seem like there was much of a.
and I don't
I
know. It
figured for
was like
sure. I figured for sure they would all have like a spec setup, but
no, maybe if they keep doing it, but it was funny because one of the guys, he's a younger guy. I don't even know his name. I don't remember him from anything. they're like flipped to his the camera, and it's like in his basement or something, and like there's no drywall, and the insulation is falling down. They're like, why can't you afford any drywall to finish your basement? It was just super like funny and weird, but I don't know.
So
I
here's the
enjoyed it.
question: did it hold your interest?
It did because it was so unique, and the race was short. It only did 100 laps.
Yeah, I think 75 of them were under caution.
Uh, I think I would like to see it eventually. It would be kind of a fun thing to do during the off season. Not if they don't want to do it every week, but if they did it like once or twice a month during the off season, it'd be kind of fun to watch.
So here's what my takeaways from it was: it did not hold my interest. I watched it for maybe 10, 15 minutes while I ate
Oh, really?
breakfast. Yep. Because to me, I'm watching a video game, and I know there's a whole market now with was it Twitch and YouTube and all this stuff where people watch people playing video games, and I can't get into it. I don't understand it. It's not my thing. To me, this was that, but just watching a professional person play a video game. Like there's no, and I don't want to sound like looking for blood sport here, but there's no chance for like human error, or people don't have to take things carefully because it's just a video game. They can just smash into each other. And you saw a lot of that. There wasn't a lot of like true competition or really good racing, or it wasn't any kind of like I when video games are involved, I need to have a horse in the race to stay interested. Like I need to care. Like it needs to be either me playing or me like in a tournament waiting to play, or there needs to be some reason for me to care. I can't watch it and be like, this is a good substitute for watching an actual race, because I don't think it is.
I'm kind of into it. But what I would like to see actually is so over on it was on Fox Sports 1, then on regular Fox to fill the time. And I guess it wasn't in your market, but in my market, they replayed the 86 like Miller 400 from Richmond,
Yeah, I definitely
and
wanted to see that.
with like Daryl Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt in the Wrangler car. So Dale Waltrip in his old Budweiser car. These all G bodies, Aeroback, Monte Carlos, like really cool looking NASCARs, the big Thunderbirds, and they were just battling out like short track. I really like watching those cars when those cars come out of the corner and they're like a little bit sideways coming out of the corner. It's like really, really cool. So my idea was, what if we took the e-racing and what if everybody ran retro styled cars? Like,
I don't think it makes a difference.
I think
I'd,
it would be
I'd rather
cooler
watch. I'd rather
because there's
watch
no
the.
safety involved. So why
I'd rather
you'd rather
watch
watch the
the
replays?
'86 race than watch people recreate it on a video game. So the one thing that I did take away from it, and I did kind of think about during it, was maybe if they made it where there were penalties for not taking it serious, because some of the drivers clearly weren't taking it serious, um, and you had a mix of NASCAR drivers and not NASCAR drivers, like just esports guys, video game guys that are really good at the game. And it was kind of like a beat the pro both ways. Like the NASCAR driver has to try to beat the guy who's really good at video game driving, and the video game driver has to beat the NASCAR driver who knows all the little ins and outs of every racetrack. And then maybe come the end of the season, kind of like PlayStation did back with the Gran Turismo Championship, you could give the winner of the esports side like a chance to run a couple laps and see if he can replicate it in a real car. And maybe there was some way to promote that to be like a stepping stone for these video game players to try to get maybe a ride in NASCAR.
I mean, that does exist. You did mention it. That was PlayStation and Gran
Right.
Turismo.
Yep.
Um, One of the guys actually ended up running for Nissan at Le Mans in their failed Le Mans car. I think the kid ended up getting another ride though. I don't remember, but yeah, maybe. I mean, I thought it was. I personally I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was kind of different, interesting. Definitely made me want to watch it.
I guess
A lot of
F1 did it too.
F1 did it. Kart did it, or Indy. Um, IMSA did it for Sebring. Of course, you can also do Forza in Sebring too. You know, to do it in iRacing. But
I mean, iRacing looks really good, but I'm sure it's a PC game only, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
And
Which I
um,
have no problem with PC games. I just don't have a PC.
well, I guess the appeal of iRacing is that people can mod it, so they'll like create their own versions of tracks. Maybe I could be speaking incorrectly, but I believe that's the way it works, where you can do that.
I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not computer savvy, but I'm not computer savvy enough to have like a video gaming computer and maintain it as such. So I'm happy with
No,
the
that's why
Xbox.
I just
Yeah,
use a console because I'm lazy and it works.
right. I have too much money wrapped up in cars and model cars to start a whole other hobby.
Yeah, there is. I know people are doing like rally stuff with Dirt Rally, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that game is probably the closest thing for a sim for like PC or for like a console. The way it drives in the game.
Oh, I know I'm no good at it, so I hope that I'm a little better at driving a car in the dirt than I am in that video game because it's pretty terrible. I mean, it's a great game. I'm just terrible at it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like a really hard game. Like you'll have this total rhythm, especially if you're doing it like full hard, and then you're just like full send it into the trees, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess my
Yep,
rally's over.
all done. No, no more racing.
But back to the real world, you have been at least able to work on the Toyota by yourself. So how is that going?
Mostly well, actually. Obviously, how deep do we talk about? Have we had an episode about the truck yet? I think we have, right?
You have about picking it up. I think
Okay.
maybe what it needed. You kind of
So,
you talked about going through all the parts you had and figuring out what to do,
okay.
but I don't think you've talked about what you've updated me on, which was cleaning it thoroughly and then starting to go through the engine. So let's do that.
All right. So I cleaned it thoroughly and I started to go through the engine. No, I took.
Okay.
See, if you
Oh,
look,
that's a podcast.
if you look at pictures from when I first got the truck, when I first posted it, you can see that the bed is full of stuff and the cab is full of stuff. And I discussed kind of going through all those parts and figuring out what we had and what we didn't have and what I needed to get to make the vehicle run. Um, Thinking I had pretty much everything, I dove right in this past weekend. I tore the motor apart, basically doing the front cover, timing assembly, head gasket, and all that stuff. The motor was free spinning, but not free spinning. Like you could only spin it so far because the timing chain had been lodged down in the bottom of the crank, like around the crank. It was like double wrapped and kind of had been spun too many times prior to my getting it with the chain not attached to anything. So it was kind of jammed in between the timing gear and the tensioner.
Now,
The crank gear, I should say, and the tensioner.
have you come to a consensus of what engine is in there? Because there was several comments on our Instagram page, a little confusion as to what engine it was.
It
Maybe.
is. It's a 20R,
Okay.
so it's a 78 model. At some point, it's been rebuilt because the pistons aren't stock pistons.
Okay.
It should have like a domed piston, and it's got a flat top piston. So somebody
Interesting.
put
So
different pistons.
lower compression.
Yeah,
Weird.
yeah. I'm not sure what the advantage is, or maybe they're supposed to be. I don't know whatever's in there is not what's supposed to be in there. I don't know enough about Toyota engines
I
to
don't
have.
know anything about these 20R, 22R.
So the hot setup is the 22R, which is a 2.4 liter. Well, this is the confusing part because the 20R you would assume would be a 2 liter, and the 22R would be a 2.2 liter.
2.2. Yeah.
But apparently it's not. The 20R is a 2.2 liter, and the 22R is a 2.4 liter.
Okay.
Right.
Go home, Toyota. You're drunk.
So apparently the hot setup is the 22R bottom end with a 20R head because the 20R head flows better than the 22R head does. So people are saying, hey, you should get a 22R bottom to put in the truck, and you already have that, harder to find 20R head. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that because I'd like to just make the thing run.
Yeah. Let's make sure it runs first. And then maybe you can think about taking the engine out. But let's try the engine that's in there.
Well, here's the thing. The deal
Right?
is I want to make it run. I want to make it drivable. I want to make it usable. and I don't want to dig myself into this huge hole of having another unfinished project, because that was the whole deal with this truck was, if I don't get it finished in 4 weeks from getting it, 1 month, or at least I should say running within a month of getting it, I'm just going to move it on. I'm going to get rid of it. So there's
Fair
no
enough.
need. Yeah, there's no need to keep pushing along with it. Timing wise, it hasn't worked out the best because of the whole situation that we're in right now, and the moving to home from working, and the garage the truck is in is actually closer to work than it is from home. So now it's a pain. But the plan was just to drive over after work and work on it. But now that I'm working from home, it's now at that time of the day, like an hour or so drive to get to it. So I've only been working on it on weekends, unfortunately. Um, but I think it may run this weekend, so we'll see what happens.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So the whole thing's torn down. I thought I had all the parts. I needed to put it back together. Unfortunately, I did not. Um, the gasket set that came with it was incomplete. So it looks to me like somebody did a water pump on this and a timing chain
Right.
and never finished
And
putting
took
it
it off.
together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and never finished putting it together. Because when I took it apart, the timing chain itself looks brand new. There's absolutely no wear on the tensioner and no wear on the guides. So it all looks brand new, like it's never even been run. And all those gaskets looked fairly new. So, of course, that gasket set that I thought was complete doesn't have the water pump gasket or the front cover gasket, because they were used when they put the front of the motor together.
Do you need any manuals for it? Because I have like a bunch of those '80s like Chilton manuals hanging around.
Yeah, I don't
Probably
have a
cover it.
manual. I don't have a manual for it.
It might just cover at least that timing part of that engine.
So, looking at it, it looks pretty straightforward. And I watched a video online about it.
It
Um,
looks like a Styrian engine. It looks like a
it
Cirrus.
looks like
Cirrus.
a generic 1970s Japanese car.
Yeah.
It has, single overhead cam, so it's nothing crazy. You just basically put the engine at cylinder one at top dead center, and you line up the Woodruff key on the crank, and on the camshaft, the cam gear is keyed, and there's a dot, and that has to be at the very top. Like, so the Woodruff key on the crank has to be straight up, and the cam gear on the top has to have the dot straight up. And then you put the master link, or the different color link of the chain, at the top point of the cam gear.
Yeah, that
And
sounds like everything.
yeah, and essentially you're timed. You're at 0 degrees right there. It's perfect. And then you time it with the distributor afterwards. So that's what it seems like. I mean, I'll do a little more reading obviously before I put it together, but it seems like it should be pretty straightforward. So, but anyway, so I got it apart. I got it all cleaned up. It's ready to go back together. The head is flat. The block is clean. The block is flat. Everything seems like it should work. The gasket set needs to be ordered still. I hadn't kept meaning to do it this weekend. Shouldn't get around to it. We're recording this on a Monday, so I'll probably order it when we're done with this podcast, so I can have it by the end of the week, and hopefully have the thing together next week, and at least have it at a point where we can turn it over. Maybe not run it, but at least have it so I can crank it over. I'm kind of undecided on what I want to do for carburation at this point, because it has a very antiquated late 70s carb setup on it. And it's got a bunch of EGR and smog pump and all kinds of stuff that needs to be figured out before I go too crazy with it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, does it make sense to do the Weber conversion?
Yeah, supposedly they run better and possibly even cleaner just by running a Weber versus running the factory setup on there. They run more efficiently, I should say. Maybe cleaner is not the right word, but more efficiently, get better mileage, and they just run better with a standard $200 Weber. So we'll see where that goes. I may try to get it running just with the other carb, just to make sure everything works before I purchase a Weber for it. But I think eventually I'll just get a Weber. I don't know if I mentioned this on the last podcast we talked about it, but coming from the world of old Mitsubishis, it's very nice being in this Toyota land where everything just exists.
Yeah.
You don't have to search far and wide and drive 7 states away to buy a parts car, because you can just go on the internet and buy all the parts
Yep.
for nothing. Like if I wanted, I could buy a hotter cam, a long tube header, and a carb and manifold set for like $500 for everything,
Hmm.
not just for one of those parts. That's literally everything. So the options and the future of the truck is a lot better than it is trying to mess with a '70s Mitsubishi engine where stuff is just non-existent. So we'll see what happens. I really hope that I get it at least to the point where I can crank it over this weekend. I'd love to have it running this weekend. We'll see how ambitious I am. It's going to require probably 2 straight days of wrenching to get it there. While I was working on it and realized I was out of gaskets, I said, well, I'll do a little more cleaning to things. So I dropped the pan from the bottom, looked inside there. Everything's nice and clean. There's not a lot of like metal shavings or things that don't belong there. Um, I also noticed that it has no slave cylinder on the side of the transmission.
Is it a cable clutch?
No, it's hydraulic. It's just missing.
Oh, well, that's a
So,
problem.
yes, I had to buy one of those now too. It's going to require me to make the line as well that comes from the body to the cylinder.
Oh, well,
And
the copper stuff, super easy.
yeah, it shouldn't be a big deal. I just don't
Just
have.
make sure you have the right end fittings, which are likely metric.
Oh, yeah, definitely metric. But I don't have the flaring tool access that we have in Massachusetts garages. So I'll probably have to rent one from AutoZone or something. I'm
Yep.
sure they rent them there.
Um, any idea what the mileage is on this truck, or is it?
So the dashboard shows 77,000. Um, I believe it's probably at least 177,000. Um, I have no way of knowing. The title says unknown mileage. So I couldn't tell you. I'm going to assume that it's 177,000 and not 70. I mean, it could even be 277,000 for all I know. So it doesn't, I guess, doesn't matter at this point. You know, we're talking about a truck that's not exactly, we're not talking about a, $30,000 pickup truck here. We're talking
No, no,
about
no, no.
a vehicle that's just going to run around and be used for
Does it
hauling
have
things.
So does it have an electronic ignition in these cars, or?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Huh.
Yep. I think. God, I hadn't even looked yet.
I mean,
The
maybe. I
distributor's
never.
out. The distributor's out with the cap off of it.
Oh, that'll
The,
tell you right away.
no, the cap's on it. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I haven't pulled the cap off and taken a look.
Well, you would see it would have an electrical connector to it.
Well, it would
I
either
think.
way, whether it was electric ignition or not. It's still going to have electrical connections going to the points or electrical connections going to. I can look real quick. I think it probably has points because it's 78 and it doesn't
Yeah.
have anything else.
Weird.
More than likely, it's got a points ignition. I just haven't even looked. I'm not even at the point where I've got to the any reason to look that deeply into it yet. So
It's just funny. I don't because those trucks just didn't last out here. I don't think I've ever seen one really.
I've only seen a very few of this body style. You see the later ones from time to time, the 79 to 84, I think it was, or 83. You'll see those, but you don't see this body style. Even out here, you don't see them. You see more Datsun pickups of this generation than you see Toyotas. It's actually funny when I was driving home from working on it this weekend. So the truck is a 78 long bed, blue with a white stripe down the side. I tried to catch a picture of this other truck, but I didn't get it. It was being towed on a dolly and had clearly been rescued from sitting somewhere forever. But it was a similar year Datsun long bed in white with a blue stripe down the side.
Huh.
I was like, that's like the exact opposite of my truck. It's the Datsun versus the Toyota, and it's the inverse paint scheme. So I thought that was pretty neat. But I got a picture of it, but I couldn't post it because it was only the quarter panel I got driving by. I missed the main part of the truck going by. So all right, I'm on Rock Auto right now because this is an important question to answer. I'm looking for electrical.
Oh, if it has them.
Yeah. So they don't list any points.
Hmm.
Just gotta find ignition.
That's interesting. I'm just trying to think of any other cool car stuff, but I haven't really done much. I've been working on my kitchen, this old house type stuff. Uh,
Okay,
that's
so it has a points style pickup coil. So
okay.
it probably the factory almost looks like they use the same distributor for the older truck and the newer vehicle, and this has a electronic ignition, but it looks like points. So there you go. The pickup coil seems like it would be almost like a point setup, but it's not a point setup. There's no moving parts; it's all magnets. It looks like. So it's almost like a factory um, Petronics conversion.
Huh. Now, have you checked like fuel tank or anything? Is it like
So the vehicle ran 5 years ago.
okay?
So the fuel in there is at most 5 years old. I'm not terribly worried about it until I make sure the engine runs. These are all things that I'm just not worried about yet.
Oh, so you just put some fuel down the carb and
Oh, exactly. I can just run a
okay.
line into a fuel tank. I'm not going to try to run
Oh,
it on the
right, right,
fuel.
right, right.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to
Right.
run it in the fuel in the tank. I'll drain that and get rid of it. But
I'm such in fuel injection land that I forget that you can just run a hose into a jerry can just to make it run.
yep, that's the entire plan for now. And then we'll worry about the tank afterwards. So, like I said, the plan is to not spend any extra money on this truck until I realize what I have all told in front of me. So I don't want to wind up, you know, to quote Ron LP, he calls one of his vehicles the Albatross. I don't need to turn this truck into an Albatross. It just needs to be as minimal as possible to make sure it runs. And then we'll start doing little things here and there to make it more usable, cooler, reliable, drivable as a usable pickup truck. So
What's the albatross connection? I don't.
he just calls it the Albatross because it's big, it's there, it's always
Okay.
broken.
Okay.
So I don't want to
All
have
right.
I don't want to have an Albatross of my own, even though I have
Huh.
like 12 of them still in Massachusetts. That's
I guess I would have said money pit, but
well, yeah,
that's
that's where
me.
everybody goes with. I was looking for a little more creative than the money pit, but every car is a money pit, so I need to define it a little more than that. I think. So, good news: the Eclipse didn't get towed. I don't know if we talked about that last podcast.
Yeah, how they're like that car has 2 pounds too little air in the front tire. Time
Yeah,
to tow it.
yeah, it had like 11 pounds of air in it, and I got a tow notice on it.
Bring it to the
So,
junkyard.
yeah, pretty much. So, good news: it did not get towed, and it's running and driving. So,
Slightly old car in Phoenix belongs in the junkyard.
yeah, that seems to be the way around here.
Minimal damage, throw it in the junkyard.
Thankfully, I managed to not get that done to it. So, there's air in the tire, and life is good. I do need to do something about those wheels though, because they leak slowly.
Yeah.
If it sits for a couple weeks, it is noticeably lower. So I need to.
Did you ever get the center caps?
I did. I had them on for the pictures of the car at Radwood. Did you not see that?
Nope. I didn't see any pictures of that car in Austin.
Okay, so I had the hubcaps on. I took them off again for the drive home, just because I need to manipulate the clips a little bit to make sure they stay
Uh,
on when being driven.
yeah, that'd be super annoying because they're kind of hard to get, I guess.
Yeah, they're a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I will send a picture, or I'll post a picture on our page of the car at Radwood Austin with the center caps on it. I
Cool.
didn't take too many pictures at Austin because I was busy, but I do have one picture of it, and I know that another friend of ours took a picture of it and had it on his page, so where you can see the hubcaps, so they do exist. But I
Cool.
haven't done anything with them because I need to make them fit. I need to paint them to match the wheel, so or paint the whole wheel or whatever at some point. We'll see what
Oh,
happens.
plastic of them, they kind of fade. Or are they turning yellow or something?
They're
Or
yellow and gray. Yeah, they're a little.
oh yeah.
Because I'm sure you remember the center caps for the Talon wheels.
Mm-hmm.
The gray turned to yellow pretty quickly as the color actually peeled off. So
I
these are
feel like that was the thing for '90s cars where the base plastic would be like yellow.
Yep.
Like a lot of cars, when the paint would flake off the bumper, it'd be yellow, like the urethane or whatever.
Yep. Yep. And that's what's happened. These hubcaps, the same kind of yellow color. So
I know. I was just looking at my talent. I moved it out of my garage so I could. I put it in my dad's garage because I need some space during construction for stuff. And the front bumper, the flaking part's getting kind of bad. I need to like figure out what to do with that. It's got
um,
like a little. It's got like a little tear tattoo under the headlight.
I would say paint it. It's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better to just take the bumper off and give it to someone, or
Uh,
have them match the
Best bet would
car.
be find somebody that wants to do the job. Um, Bring the car to them to have them match the paint,
Yeah,
but have the bumper off.
yeah.
That way you don't have to pay somebody to do the labor of taking the bumper off and everything.
Because I need to take it off anyways to do the intercooler. So that
Sounds
would
like
be a good time
perfect
to do
timing. Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, paint
but
is a pain in the butt. It's one of those things you can't really do at home well.
yeah, especially bumper paint because they'll probably sell it to you in the spray can, but it's not going to come out well. I don't know.
It just won't look the same. It's hard to do.
Yeah, I just
If it wasn't for how bad the Eclipse door looked, I wouldn't have painted it with a spray can because
it's
it looks okay, but it still bothers me every time I look at it because it's not perfect.
yeah, it's worth the $200 or $300. It is, if that, to paint a bumper.
Yeah, it's a
Or
little more than that now, probably.
really? Oh
Yeah, probably
man.
three or $400.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say like 1,000.
No, no. I mean, it can be. Depends on who you want to have do it and what their body rate is. But you need to find somebody who's not stuck on only doing insurance jobs
Yeah, yeah.
because
It's
that's the
the hard part.
problem. A bumper job through insurance is, the shop will make $800 or $900 versus the
Mm,
customer off the street who wants to pay 200. So it's hard to
yeah.
it's hard to catch that balance. So unfortunately, I don't work there in a body shop anymore, so I can't help you.
There is a local shop right near my house that does a lot of custom cars, so maybe I go over there, check it out.
Oh yeah, there is actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, might be go and talk to anyway.
Yeah, at least, yeah, see what they say.
Won't say their name until they do a good job for you.
Hmm. Anything else?
I haven't been doing much else, Andrew. I've just been working on the Toyota. So
Yeah, I've
working on
been.
the Toyota. It's over in Jordan, not Jordan, who's been on the show, Jordan, but a different Jordan's garage, Naomi's son. So I've been learning a little bit from watching him work on stuff too, because he does audio stuff,
Yeah,
and like competition audio is completely foreign to me.
yeah. I gotta ask him some questions about that at some point because I know like he bought a new vehicle, but it's like a vehicle I would never ever buy because it's not that great of a vehicle. But I imagine he bought it because it has a lot of space.
Yeah, it's for audio gear. Like it's a
Yeah, it's so
small
weird.
little round SUV, which has tons of room for audio gear.
So
So
strange.
yeah, but one of the things that he was doing to it was he built this bracket to put a second alternator on it, and I've never, I never knew you needed to run two alternators for things. Like twin alternators is not a term I've ever heard before.
I know, and it probably sucks like 50 horsepower off the engine, like a reverse supercharger.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I know he's got a 280 amp alternator and a 350 amp alternator in the car.
What?
Yeah. To put that into comparison, like the Colt has a 75 amp
How
alternator.
many how many batteries? Like, does he use like Optima batteries or something like deep cell stuff? Like,
Oh no, you're way behind on technology.
oh really?
Oh yeah, we're into like lithium and stuff now. Like
Whoa.
yeah, like RC car battery technology, same kind of stuff.
All right. I This is something we should do at least one episode on because it's kind of weird and it's off topic for us. So that'd be good.
Yeah, way off topic, but
But
it's interesting. I mean, he literally. I was standing next to the car, and he turned the stereo up and turned the bass on, and it like blew my hat off my head. So
what?
like legitimately, it puts that much air through the system. So
So
It's
crazy.
the truck is wild. I mean, there's a beam, like it looks like a roll bar when you drive by the vehicle. But what it is roll bar tubing that is welded to the floor, and then from like behind the drivers and passenger seats up to the roof, and then it's to hold the roof down when the base hits, so it doesn't blow the windshield out every time.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But it's necessary because I mean you can watch the whole vehicle just like it looks like it's going to fall apart on itself.
So weird.
Yeah, it's very bizarre, but it's cool. So it's just a different way to be into cars. I've never been into competition audio. I honestly didn't even know it was still a big thing.
I
Apparently,
don't think it is out here.
apparently it is because at that IFO show which they do out there, the Import Face Off, they have these big audio comps at them. It's just so far outside of our like
Yeah.
our knowledge base and our interest that we just don't even know it exists.
Hmm.
So I learned a lot about these IFO shows. Like they have an audio competition, but we always complain about the cars popping and hissing and whatnot at Cars and Coffees, like
Yeah.
the Burble Tunes and the Two Step people. They have two step competitions.
Yeah, I know that's a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing until looking
Yeah.
into this IFO show out here, which apparently it's a nationwide thing now. I don't understand it. I'll never get it. It just seems like violent terribleness to put towards your car.
I'm curious to see what kind of stereo he puts in the Eclipse for you.
It's gonna be very simple.
Yeah.
I don't need anything like that. I just need four speakers and maybe a very small subwoofer in the back.
Bluetooth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not looking for competition audio that adds all kinds of weight to an already overweight and underpowered car. So
All right.
we'll live without that.
All right. Cool. So, as always, follow Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook, Auto Off Topic on Instagram. And Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at TSISS350. Don't forget to follow us or everybody involved with the project at the Gearhead Project forums. And again, if you're interested in joining us for Forza, we are getting back into Forza. So just drop us a line and we'll try to set you up on getting involved with some races.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram, Raced in Anger. And as always, keep your cars analog, be nice to each other, and aim for the roses.